Welcome. Before we begin, a brief caution. Some of the movements and exercises in the video may not be suitable for everyone. If you have any questions or concerns about your ability to safely perform these exercises and movements, please stop immediately, consult with the appropriate member of your healthcare team, and only proceed when all of your questions and concerns have been appropriately addressed. And now, let's dive in. In this video, I want to talk about Tai Chi walking. These days, if your video feeds are anything like mine, the internet is awash with information about Tai Chi walking. And while some of it is good, others, I withhold judgment. So I want to use this video as my opportunity to talk to you about what Tai Chi stepping, the mechanics, and then Tai Chi walking, the meditative, in the moment process are in our program. So to begin, let's just talk about some of the mechanics of stepping. We're going to assume that your feet are about shoulder width apart and that the weight is equally balanced. And the mechanics of this are pretty simple, but very, very important. So let's just look at some of the things. As we know from our posture video, we want our feet as much as possible in contact with the earth when we're just standing here. And we want our feet about shoulder width apart because that gives us a very stable base, a nice foundation. So what happens when we begin to step? Well, we want to separate the foot placement from the weight shift. In other words, we don't want to let gravity or momentum decide where we're stepping. If you look at how most people step, putting those things together, they're really letting physics determine, particularly that gravity and momentum that I just talked about. In our Tai Chi stepping, what we want to do is be mindful about how we're moving. So to step, I'll pour all my weight into one leg, peel up the heel of the empty leg, and now I'm going to take a small step forward. I put down the heel and the foot because it's a forward step. But I haven't yet committed to this step. I can still easily pick up and move back because I haven't transferred any weight to that foot. If I decide that that foot placement is in fact a good thing, then I can glide my weight into that leg. I haven't picked up the heel of this foot yet either. So I'm still in a nice balanced position. I've got weight distance in between my legs here. I'm not on too narrow a base. And I can, by virtue of having shifted all the weight forward, decide, well, let's take another step. Let's peel up the heel of the empty foot. And we can now take a small step. All our steps initially are going to be small. Touch the heel, touch the front of the foot. We can still undo that step or move it over a bit if necessary. Let's say I'm on a trail and I stepped on a rock that wasn't quite as stable as it looked like. I don't have to find myself on a wobbly rock. I can just make another choice. If I like this choice better, then I can flow the weight into that foot. And only when I'm ready to take the next step am I going to start to pick up that foot because I've shifted the weight. You notice that the steps are relatively small. As you get more practiced in your both maintaining your upright posture and your weight shifting, you could take bigger steps, but this is not about going fast or covering a lot of ground. Let's just look at something else that can happen, which is that time I leaned forward, right? I violated the uprightness principles. We want to make sure that as we're stepping, we're still nice and upright, nice and aligned. Okay? The other thing you may have noticed, these being forward steps, it's my heel and then toe that touches the ground first. Okay, so from the side, what that looks like is I've shifted the weight, peel up the heel, heel, toe, and now I shift weight into that leg. If I wanted to step back, I'll do the opposite. I'll shift the weight to the other leg. I peel up the heel, but when I step back, it's the front of my foot that touches down first, and then the heel. This foot's still completely on the ground, and if I like this step, I can shift the weight into that leg. If I don't like this step, I can peel up the heel and, let's say, just move it over a little bit. So that's the first key concept that we've got, is separate the foot placement from the weight transfer. The other thing that we want to be very mindful of is the distance between our feet, and particularly when we're stepping back. It's not a problem for most of the people in our classes to be able to step forward. They're used to stepping forward and still having space. But when they step back, a lot of times they begin to erode, and they suddenly are ending up without much space at all between the feet. That's how you can trip over your own feet. That's how you can have a more wobbly body, because you don't have as much of a stable base. So we always want to make sure, and this floor is great because I've got lines that I can use for guidance. So I can have a foot on either side of the line, and as I go to step back, and then pick up the other foot and step back, I can check, am I still on both sides? Have I crossed over unknowingly? And practice and work on that. You want to make sure that you're not losing your stable base, because that's what everything is keyed off of. So we've talked about stepping forward, heel, toe, stepping backwards, toe, heel. What about sidestepping? Well, let's say I've got my feet parallel here, right behind the line, pour weight into, in this case, my left leg. I'm going to pick up, put down my right, and now I'm going to pour the weight over there, pick up, bring over, put down. I can stop and look down. I don't want to be looking down while I'm in motion, because the skull being a relatively heavy thing, looking down, even just slightly, can throw off my alignment, can throw off my posture. We want to avoid that. So if you want to check your foot placement, just stop moving, and then look down, and then look up, and then resume. Okay? And when we're sidestepping, I am peeling up the heel of the empty leg, taking that parallel step, putting the front of my foot down, and then putting the back of my foot down. And then committing to the step by shifting weight into it. Same thing over here, empty front of the foot, back of the foot, weight shift. As you're sidestepping, at least initially, what is a good practice is to be aiming to come back to shoulder width, so that you can check your uprightness and your alignment. And it also gives you greater control over your weight shifting. As you get more experienced at it, you can take larger steps, but walk before you. The only other step that we are going to cover, and it's because it comes up relatively early in the TCA forms that we'll be looking at, we can do a diagonal step. We can pour the weight into one leg, peel up the empty heel, take a short diagonal step, heel, toe. So that works the same way on the left side. And when I step back diagonally, it's toe, heel. Then I shift my weight. And notice that as I step diagonally, because in Tai Chi everything moves together. If I take a diagonal step, even just a little one like this, my torso, everything, the shoulders, the hips, the nose, the navel, has turned a little bit. So that's how this ties into the stuff we talked about, the posture video. If you haven't seen the posture video, take a look at that. Okay, so that's as far as I want to go with the mechanics of Tai Chi stepping. Let's talk a little bit about the practice of Tai Chi walking. In our view, the key to Tai Chi walking is to be present, to be aware, to be mindful, to be here and now, not to have your mind wandering somewhere else, not to be thinking about other things except what you're doing. So it's a slow moving, graceful, meditative walking practice where we are going to respect all of the principles of the posture that we talked about, all of the mechanics of the Tai Chi stepping that we talked about, and we can go forward. You can also go backwards, you can walk in circles, there are all sorts of things you can do for Tai Chi walking. For right now, what I would suggest is find yourself a line like this one and just practice making sure that without focused or looking down, that you can maintain the correct distance between your feet. From there, you can branch out. When I do Tai Chi walking, sometimes I'll just cross my palms and put them over the dantian here to make me more mindful and more aware of the practice. I've seen video with Dr. Lamb where you're putting your hands, your lower back here, either here, or you can put them with the palms pressed against, but that causes more tension and demands more of the shoulders. So it's easier if you just have the front of your hands, and you can be very deliberate in it, and you can just take it nice and slow. Slow, smooth, and continuous is our Tai Chi mantra, and that will apply to this as well. So what I would recommend starting out is that you get the mechanics pretty bulletproof so that you're not tempted to be always looking down. And then introduce some Tai Chi walking. Maybe you do it when you first arrive at class because it helps you to arrive in the moment. Maybe you do it a couple of times a week when you're out and you're on a relatively level, straight patch of ground. There's a nice dirt walking trail near here that I will often do, nice and wide and open, and I'm not worried about dogs and people and all sorts of stuff. I've got lots of space to do my Tai Chi walking. But find a practice that works for you and see what you can do with it. We'll see you in the next video.